So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the one that I sanded down very nicely and very balanced as I did. Unfortunately, ended up taking off the final coat that I had on before. To reapply that final coat, what was done was I take a wood burner. Instead of using the tip, I take the shaft part of the wood burner and either having it slowly slide along, as you can see it made that little line there, or I roll it along, making it a little darker to make it look like it's weathered as opposed to nice and sanded down here. So I'm going to be doing that throughout in order to give it a nice weathered natural look, as if I didn't even take off the bark. Or even if you want to make it a little conversational, I pulled it out of the fire. The way that it makes it look more weathered and give these different kinds of lines throughout is when it was sanded, it left little lines and divots and whatnot. What's nice about this is that the wood burner catches those divots and puts it onto that line. When it does that, makes it look a lot nicer than where it was. Also, the wood burner takes those divots or those edges that was left by the sander and flattens them out and pushing them into the wood. So as you see, there's a couple of techniques that I do depending on what I think is needed in the area. Either rolling it or slowly scraping along the wood. Almost like you're peeling a carrot, but very slowly. As you notice, this whole thing is probably time-lapsed, so what probably takes a few seconds of what you are watching, it's taking me a good 5 minutes to complete the whole shaft of this wand. Maybe 10, depending on how hot the wood burner behaves. Of course, throughout this, you want to be extremely careful. I've done this a few times already myself. On this one, obviously mistakes are always made, but doing something where you're making this burnt in can get a little risky, because when I went through this, I was going slowly and kind of swiping it around, but with a lot more pressure. Singed my thumb and my finger a few times. So you want to be very careful if you're going to be doing something like that. As you see, it's coming out very nicely. Nothing's overdone, nothing is underdone. Everything is getting the attention it needs. You don't want anything to be left out, and if things are, you always can go back and put it back in. Of course, if you want something that's more lighter than this, you could graze along it a lot quicker, where you could see around here and just swipe the shaft of the wood burner up and down. As you can see, it's much lighter than it is over here, even if I was to multi-layer it. So most of this one I'm just rolling it out. Of course, you don't want to linger in one spot too long, otherwise you'll get a very dark look to it. That was slowly rolled across. It gives a much darker look. But generally speaking, it ends up giving too much of a blotchy look, and you don't want the blotch on there. Otherwise it doesn't look as natural as it could. Doing this gives a nice grained look to the wand. Something else to be said about choosing between the two of either rolling it or swiping it like this is the different kind of texture that you can get from it. You obviously have a more raindrop look if you were to do the rolling, and if you were to just swipe it up and down, gives a more straight and sleek look. As you see at the tip, you want to be very careful because it's easy to slip off, so you want to keep your hand as far away from it as possible. And there you have it.